Yesterday, I gave a speech in Parliament about something that is really important to me. It's quite common in Parliament to have time limits imposed on speeches so that everyone has the chance to speak. This is usually fine, it's par for the course, but this time I felt I wasn't able to convey everything I wanted to in the 4 minutes I had. So I'm going to deliver the whole speech here instead. A few weeks ago, my barber Ev sent me a DM on Instagram. It was a video of 3 lads from Ilkeston in my constituency from an account called A View from a Bridge, and it was going viral. These boys, Owen, Harrison and Roy, were talking about how life was for them growing up as teenage boys in 2025. They talked about not having anything to do, about the youth clubs having shut down, about getting into trouble with the police because they didn't have anything to do. These boys talked about troubles at home, about losing a mum, tough childhoods, and about how they support each other through their lives. They talked about how all they wanted to do in life was to be successful, sitting on the beach with no stress, and how they wanted to see each other succeed. The last line of the video from one of them was, "These will be my boys forever." The comments on the video were broadly kind, empathetic. They talked about the challenges these boys were facing, and many of them made reference to the recent TV drama Adolescence, noting that some of the challenges the boys were facing were paralleled in the programme. Adolescence has had a profound impact on many, exposing the deep toxicity that exists in some groups of boys and young men. It's exposed how, in the absence of positive male role models, the space can and often is filled by evil. For many though, adolescence wasn't a surprise. A friend recently remarked to me that they knew many men who subscribed to some subset of the horrific views depicted in the show. For me though, this video, these boys, Owen, Harrison and Roy, left a more positive impression than on some of the commenters. It reminded me of my own time growing up and of my own boys. Throughout my time in school, and indeed well into my mid-20s, I took no interest in politics because I felt it wasn't something that I really had a stake in. What I did care about though was the group of friends that I grew up with. I first properly met my boys at a party when I was 16 at Joe's house in North Cardiff. Sat awkwardly in a corner, too uncool to talk to anyone beyond the 1 or 2 people I came along with, generally afraid of the significantly more socially adept groups of teenagers around me. As I got to know them though, as I became one of them, I felt I'd finally found my tribe. Young men with shared interests in heavy music, in Skate 3 and in making fun of each other as often and as brutally as possible. And we grew up passing our A-levels or doing apprenticeships, some of us going to university, some staying at home. We covered ourselves in tattoos and stretched our pierced ears. We watched bands and we did all the things that young men do. We one-upped each other, we drank, we argued, we were immortal. Like Owen, Harrison and Roy, lots of us had challenges in parts of our lives growing up, from family relationships that were strained to mental health difficulties. But in each other's company, we were able to escape those challenges together. Our friendship was built on shared interests and we loved our lives. And then, one day, everything changed for us as a group. On Wednesday, the 10th of October 2018, Andrew sent a message to our group chat. It started, "Boys, I think it's time you should know. Tom was involved in a very bad accident at work yesterday. He got trapped under a camper van. He's not doing so well. He's in intensive care currently after having surgery last night. Thomas Shaxson, worked with his dad in their auto body business, and he had had a terrible accident indeed." Over the following few days, the prognosis slowly got worse. On the Friday evening, we had all agreed to meet at the hospital where Tom was in intensive care, and we expected to hear an update. At around 6 p.m. on Friday, as I was driving along the M50 in the direction of South Wales, my phone rang through the car. I will never forget that call. It was Dan. I answered and Dan said, "He's gone, man." We said a few more words and we hung up. I remember breaking down immediately. I remember screaming at my steering wheel. I remember feeling unlike anything I had ever felt before or anything I have ever felt since. I don't really have words to describe it. I cried for a long time as I drove, eventually arriving at the hospital to find the boys in the same state, unaware really how we were meant to feel. We later learned that after the accident, Tom's heart had stopped for half an hour, and while paramedics managed to revive him at the scene, the brain damage he suffered ultimately resulted in his death. It's hard to explain how my boys experienced Tom's death. All of us had seen death before, from old age to suicide, but we had never been through such an inherently shared experience of such extreme shock as an integral member of our group was taken from us so early. Something changed fundamentally, and the way we experienced the world has never since been the same. In many ways, Tom's death caused us all to reassess everything. We found ourselves facing our own mortality and the unexpected, irreplaceable loss of someone who we called a brother for most of our lives up until that point. The way we interacted with each other changed, our interpersonal relationships deepened, and we suddenly had to be there for each other in ways that we hadn't ever really considered before. We started talking about our own happiness, and I felt that we collectively opened up about our own struggles, things that our prior macho bravado had stopped us from sharing previously. To this day, I have a note pinned to my kitchen wall from Dan that he sent me in the post after Tom's accident. It says, "Here if you need anything, brother." None of the boys had ever sent me any post before, but every time I see it, it reminds me that Dan and all my boys are indeed always there anytime. In the years since Tom's death, I've learned more about my friends than I ever knew before. Looking retrospectively back at our lives, we have understood our individual challenges in much more depth, acknowledged difficulties with each other's mental health, which has better enabled us to support each other. Our once bravado-fueled group has evolved. We learned to talk about our issues, share and develop a new masculinity based in mutual support and love for each other. I tell my friends I love them every time I see them, and we've grown to become well-rounded adults with partners, wives, children and families that we know Tom would be very proud of. A special shout out to Joe, who this past weekend, after 15 years of graft, became a consultant hand surgeon. We're incredibly proud of him. And all of this is why I think it's so important for those of us that have been on a journey like this to share our stories with the boys and young men growing up today. With the rise of increasingly toxic online culture, with so much social media encouraging boys to take increasingly hateful stances, spreading vile misogyny and the lie that women and girls are somehow beneath them, it's incumbent on all of us to share the positives that can be gained by opening up and by being there for each other as boys, as men, and letting each other know that we're here for one another whenever we need it. To all those boys out there who aren't happy with how things are right now, to Owen, to Harrison, to Roy, it's up to those of us in this parliament to do better. Boys, we owe you better role models. We owe you our consideration, and we owe you a youth club. And remember, always look after your boys. Be proud of them. Let them look after you, and don't let them fall for hate. Have fun growing up, but don't forget to treat everyone with respect and talk about your feelings. Champion each other in whatever you do. Like my boys, become a surgeon, design cybersecurity systems, build kitchens, procure a nation's sandwiches, build guitar cases, flip houses, fit windows, deliver shopping, fix cars, or get elected to the House of Commons and bring your boys there to see the pride in their eyes when they realise what you did and what you're going to do for other boys like them. Thank you.